All right, so now we're gonna do a little classic polenta. I'm gonna give you a little tip that I had from one of my chef friends over there. All right, so first what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our stock, and I have some herbs in there, and we're just gonna let the herbs steep in with the stock. I got my pan nice and hot because I wanna get this to a boil pretty quickly. Just saves time. So while my broth is steeping with my herbs, I wanna show you the tip about the polenta. Now normally you take the polenta and you would pour the dry polenta into the broth. But in this case, what we did is we took a little bit of the broth and we made a little paste out of it. You could see it's kind of, it's literally like a paste. And that's gonna help us with clumps, and it's gonna make it incorporate into the broth a little bit easier. So just something to try. Okay, so my broth is starting to boil. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some slivered garlic. And what we wanna do is we just wanna let that garlic soften up in the broth, kind of get its flavors throughout. And then that's just gonna take about a minute, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna incorporate our polenta paste, in this case, into the broth, and then I'm gonna show you how to finish it up. We're just doing this classic style. This is just with a little grated cheese and butter and a tiny bit of cream. It's so good. Polenta is such a classic dish. All right, I think that looks good. My garlic's floating. That means it's starting to get where I would like it to be. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna incorporate my paste into the boiling water. Now, what you want to do is you want to kind of give it a whisking action. I'm using a pasta spoon for this. And what that's going to do for me is it's just going to get the polenta nice and whipped in with the broth. It's really easy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it. I'm going to turn the heat down. And then I'm going to give it a stir like every few minutes. Make sure it's not getting too thick. I'm just going to put the heat down to low. I'm going to simmer that with all the spices and the garlic. Be right back. All right, so I think it looks really good. I think the consistency is right. I know it's about done when I can give it a whip like that and it kind of stays like that for a second, but we don't want it too thick and we don't want it too loose. And I think that's just about right for creamy polenta. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the fun stuff. We're gonna add our room temperature butter just because it melts quicker. And then I'm gonna add cheese, lots of cheese. I'm gonna save a little for the end, just a little. And I'm gonna just give it a little bit more salt and pepper, just at the end. Again, this is a good one for cracked black pepper. It really helps bring out all the flavors in the polenta, in my opinion. The great thing about the Copper Chef pan is you never have to worry about cleanup. So let me tell you something. If you let polenta sit in your pan, it's gonna be a mess. But in this pan, cleanup's gonna be a breeze, so you don't have to worry about anything but eating, and that's why I love Copper Chef. All right, I think that looks really good. It looks like the cheese is incorporated and the butter. Now let's plate it up. What do you think? Yum. I love this. You know, anytime you're making a dish that calls for, say, mashed potatoes or pasta, you know, sometimes you want to just sub that out, even rice, with a little creamy polenta. And when you put like gravy, like from chicken, on polenta like this, I'm telling you guys, you want to make this all the time. All right, this looks good. So again, you can eat it for dinner. I can do that, or you can just use it as a side dish, or in place of, like I said, like a starch. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add a little bit extra cheese, like that. We're gonna put a little bit of fresh parsley, and a little bit more pepper on the top. There you have it, creamy polenta. Dinner's gonna be amazing, cleanup's gonna be a breeze.